Okay, we're back here to do the second installment of this spoon project. So we've been talking about how shiny objects, metallic, highly reflective objects, have very dark darks and very light lights next to each other in order to create that effect. Because that's what we observe on the object, and then if we know that, we can notice it, and then that helps us to employ that concept when we're making the drawing. So now we're going to make a painting of the same situation. So we're going to look at the spoon and at the drawing, and we're going to make a painting, and we're going to see how this goes. So as you recall, we made a box, a rectangle around the spoon, and then we made another rectangle the same size on our sketchbook paper, and we essentially copied what the spoon looks like into a drawing. So we have those two things here. And then we're going to make a painting of it. And so I'm going to remind myself of my size. Well, actually, what I want to do is find the center of my paper. So I've got an HB pencil here, and my paper is 6 by 9. So I'm going to mark the 3-inch mark 3 times, and that's going to be my center line. And then I am going to mark the 4.5 going the opposite direction, and find the center line horizontally. Okay, and then I'm going to measure off of this for, what did I say, 8 inches. So I'm going to put my 4-inch mark on my center line. And my table's getting a little crowded here with all of this stuff, but once we start painting, it won't be so bad. Because we've got a spoon and a sketch and a painting surface, so it's getting crowded, but that's all right. Okay, so this is 2 3/4, which is like 1.5 minus 1/8, which is 1 3/8. My box is centered on the paper, and in order to make this a painting, we're going to paint this whole box. Okay, I'm putting this on the edge of my board here. My board goes all the way over to here, but I don't have enough room to spread this out any more than it is and keep this in the video. So you're probably in a better situation at home. So I'm going to tape this to the edge of the board because I have my sketchbook sitting on most of the board over here to the left. And I'm going to tape the whole thing down because this is how we stretch paper that we paint on. And I'm going to go up against the edge here. So I'm going to mask off the box in addition to stretching the paper as I have done before. So I think this should be obvious to you what I'm doing, but this way I can paint right over top of this edge of masking tape and take it off and have a nice clean line. Got a lot of extra tape here. I'm gonna get rid of. It's gonna be my way. All right. So we're gonna set up our paint as we always do. We're gonna do 1 black and 2 whites. It's acting kind of gooey today. I'm coming to the end of the white, so. Okay, and then I've got painting medium over here. Okay, and I'm gonna make a mid-tone value. And I want to scrape in multiple directions so that this will even out. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and mix. I'm gonna mix 7 values, even though I'm definitely gonna be mostly on the dark end. I still want to be able to be subtle with those lighter values, so I'm gonna mix the 7 values. Also, that's what we're used to working with, so I'm running out of mid-tone here. I might have to mix some more at some point. And I'm definitely going to use these lower, darker values. Because I don't know how much actual black we're going to want to have in here. Okay, so this is just above black, and I think this value is going to help me because I might want to glaze over black or mix, like scumble over black. We'll see. Okay. We need to just get something laid in here. Oh, I need to draw it first. That would be helpful. I could just paint it, but I'm going to draw it. And I have both of these things here as reference. So I have the spoon and I have the drawing. So I'm kind of looking at both of them actually. And the reason that the drawing is helpful is because I've already figured out the value relationships. I've recreated the lighting situation to be pretty much exactly the same. Okay, and then here's where my highlight is. And because of the shape of the light that I'm using, it's making a long, skinny shape for the highlight, and I can see that in my drawing and on the spoon itself. And then I want to show myself where the highlights are. So the highlight is here. And then here. And I want to observe from life when I'm painting, because there's just something about the real thing that is better to react to, I guess I would say, but Okay, so there's my spoon. It's a rough sketch here, but now I need to start laying some colors in here. What happened to the brush that I had in my hand? Okay. Here it is. Upside down. So I'm gonna paint the background first. And the background is white, but it's not as light. This sketchbook paper in terms of value is not as light as my highlight. So I'm gonna use the second value and I'm gonna paint the whole background. And this allows me to compare the values on the spoon to this background color. So this is my reference for everything. I don't want to paint the spoon. I'm not gonna do that yet. Because then I just have wet paint that's not helpful, and it's helpful for me also to have a contrast here till I get the whole thing in. So we're just gonna paint the background, and I'm running out of paint, so I might have to mix some more. Okay, I might actually have two slightly different values here when I remixed. We'll see. Maybe it'll dry darker, but that could be interesting. So I'm gonna leave it. And now I wanted to get into a next value. So I'm gonna go for my dark. That's a step above black. Some of these other values laid in here. I'm actually gonna switch to my filbert with this one. And I still have like 3 values to start in mind, but instead of going all the way to black, I'm gonna use this next darkest one because I think it'll, I don't know, help me compare, I guess. against this edge, and then I'll go back in and refine this shape of highlight that I have. So here are roughly my dark areas. And I'm trying to see this at the same angle that you see it at. I don't think it's quite working, but I'm sort of standing up and sitting down as I need to here. Okay, so it sort of remains to be seen how tightly I'll make this rendered. Okay, I'm gonna call this darkest dark. Some of this, that should be a mid-tone. And there's no use getting impatient, just take your time. Lay in the values. And as you do that, this will start to become a painting without you even knowing quite what happened. Okay, and then here's where, I don't know, do we need to render this as highly as we've drawn it? We'll see. Down here, I'm gonna go with the latest light right here, creeping around this shape. Wants to mix with the mid-tone, I might have to come back. And again, we're looking for high contrast right next to each other is what makes this look shiny. And I have some more up here. Got a highlight right here. Whitest white is right here. I'm gonna count some of this. Oh, I'm gonna count some of this as a mid-tone. this shape. I'm also going to count this shadow as a midtone. There's a shadow that just runs up against this spoon. Okay, so I have a basic light, mid-tone, dark, and now I can start to come in here with more values. This is my dark that goes right after the midtone. So it's the third up from the bottom. And I really want to look. This spreads. So this highlight spreads out. I'll get a little lighter and a little lighter. And I'm just going to make this basic structure, and then we'll come back in here and glaze later. And now it's starting to look like something. And all we had to do was just keep painting. I need this to glow a little better, so I'm going to add some medium. This one's supposed to be smaller. Let's see if I can get it to work. This might not point as well as my bigger brush, we'll see. Okay, that's not Okay, I'm kind of experimenting to see what my brush will do. I want to push back against this a little bit. I think this is getting wide. And I'm just pushing the paint against the spoon. Okay. All the way to the whitest white, right here, lined up with this highlight. It's too wet, we'll come back. I think this highlight's not quite as light. But again, the dark against the bright highlight creates that metallic effect. And all I've done is put almost white against almost black. And watch what you're doing. See yourself change the painting as you do it. And that gives you some control. And you can see it happening. Okay. I'm gonna go back to this tiniest one. I don't know which of these I like the best for doing this. Maybe the small one. I'm gonna look at this again to try to get these lined up. Okay, I've got a dark here. Okay, I'm gonna go to a different area to try to not work too much in one area so I can see the whole thing build. And I think this is a little wider than I have it. Okay, I've got a little bit of a highlight here on the very edge. The spoon, and if I put this light next to the dark, and I have a contrast between this lighter area on the background and the white that I'm putting in here. And so that's where my background is working for me. Okay, now on this side, I've got kind of a lighter area here, but it's not white. And this shows the edge of the spoon. Okay. Okay, I've got a little bit of a lighter area here. I'm gonna glaze this actually. I'm gonna pick up some of this medium dark in between my mid-tone and my second dark. I'm gonna glaze this in here a little bit. I think the tip of my paintbrush is bent a little bit, which means that I have not stored it well. Use some water to feather that edge. I'm gonna glaze this. So I'm gonna pick up glaze and my second light. So this one is third from the top. I'm gonna lighten this area. Not completely redrawing it. try to get these highlights. Oh, I'm not doing a good job. Okay. I want this edge to be softer. And I'm gonna go in here with black. Just right along this edge. Right over here. Okay. I'm gonna glaze in this highlight up here because I want to lighten it. And I'm not glazing with white, but I'm glazing with the lightest gray. I don't know. Okay, that's too far. But I want the edge to be soft. Okay, so I actually think I'm about done here. If I can just, there's a little bit of an edge on the rim that's picking up some highlights. And I'm gonna try to like dry brush that in here because it comes and goes along the edge. And I'm gonna put some contrast here in shadow just as it hits. Okay, I think that's good. Might want to go just a little bit darker right here on this bend. Okay, I'm gonna look at the bottom of this one more time. And with the brushes that I have, I can only get this so fine, but I don't want to use a brush that you don't have for this particular thing. You are welcome to do that though. Use a brush that's not one that we have as a class. Yeah, I don't want it to be that light in this middle part. I'll glaze it a little bit to knock it down. Good value. Okay. I'm gonna hit this highlight one more time. Maybe this one down here. Okay, I'm gonna call this done. I'm gonna touch up this right here with my lightest gray, although maybe it would be cool to keep it there. And this was a fun painting, challenging but fun, and made me think pretty deeply about, like, am I really putting darks next to lights enough to make this thing look shiny? So I hope we learned something, and I'll see you next time.